Happy New Year! This video is about tips to reduce drinking alcohol through the lens of damp January. So what is damp January? Hello, I am Kirsten. Welcome to Sobriety Bestie. Let's dive right in. And so damp January, and no, I did not make this term up. It's like a cousin of dry January, if you will, where people intend to drink less for the week of January. Also, if you attempted dry January and you ended up drinking, it just transforms into a damp January, right? So there's no shame. If you want to drink less and you're trying to drink less, that's awesome, right? So if you want to find out more about dry January, I'll pop my video up here about dry January. Damp January is great if you want to evaluate your relationship with alcohol in the new year, or if you are doing it any time of the year, any point in your life where you want to reduce your alcohol content, alcohol consumption. Going damp is a great way to do that. If you're able. I know that at a point in my drinking, I certainly could go damp. And at a certain point in my drinking, I wasn't able to control it, right? So I needed to go to rehab. And if you're worried that you're drinking too much, there is some really cool new alcohol recovery science. So stay tuned throughout the video so we can get into that. Like, what does drinking too much mean? What is heavy drinking? So we'll dive into that a little bit further in the detail. Also, you can look at the timestamps if you want to go there right now. Also, a warning, I am not a doctor. This is not medical advice. This is for informational purposes only. If you are going to reduce your drinking or quit drinking altogether, you may want to consult a doctor because you may go into withdrawal symptoms. Something important to consider is, why do you want to reduce drinking alcohol? Why do you want to do damp January or any sort of damp period of your life? The why can really help us as we're achieving any goal, right? So if you know what your why is, it's going to help you actually achieve that goal, whether it is damp January or anything else. Some potential reasons why could be your improved mood, health, relationships, work, cognition, energy, time, saved money. Also, perhaps you notice that you're drinking more than you want, or that your drinking is starting to move into getting drinking more than you want, and you want to reduce your drinking before it becomes a problem. So whatever your reason why is of reducing your drinking alcohol or doing damp January, I recommend that you put your why on a Post-it note, put it front and center, put it on your mirror, put it on your phone, somewhere where you can see it, so you can connect over the 30 days or however long you do this reduced drinking period, so you remember why you're doing it. And so here are some tips to reduce alcohol consumption. So some people like to gradually reduce it. Like if you drink 5 drinks a day, going down to 4 drinks a day for the first week, and maybe 3 drinks a day for the second week, and 2 drinks a day for the following week. Or if you drink 5 or 6 or 7 drinks a day, maybe going to 6 drinks the next day, and then 5 the day after that. And then maybe you do 5 for 5 days and then 4, and you move it down slowly. So one strategy is just to reduce the number of drinks you drink per day. Another strategy is to reduce the number of times you drink per week. Another strategy is to reduce the number of days per week that you drink. Some people like to space out their drinks, so they might have 1 drink and then a glass of water, and then 1 drink, and then maybe like an alcoholic beer, then a non-alcoholic beer, then an alcoholic beer, then a non-alcoholic beer. Somehow space up their drinking, or having 1 drink every hour, or 1 drink every 2 hours, 1 drink every 30 minutes, whatever it may be. Just whatever it is a strategy that's thought out beforehand. Another strategy is to reduce your alcohol content. So maybe you still have some sort of vodka soda, but you have less vodka in that vodka soda. Other ways to consider reducing alcohol consumption are to limit it around days, number of drinks, days you drink, time that you drink, events that you drink at or don't drink at, or even the types that you drink. Some people will just say, for my damp January, I'm going to have no liquor. I'm still going to drink beer and wine. So there are many different ways that you can switch it up. Awareness is always great when setting out to achieve a goal. So it might be helpful to be aware of when it is that you're actually drinking and when do you actually want to reduce your drinking. So are you going to minimize your time or limit the number of times you go to certain places where you're around alcohol or where alcohol is centered? So maybe it's hanging out with specific people or in specific places or at specific events. As we touched on before, you might want to swap out some of those drinks for non-alcoholic drinks, or my favorite go-to is soda water and lime. A lot of my sober friends, we drink soda water and lime when we go out or when we have dinner, or just all the time because it's so delicious. So be really conscious and deliberate about what you're actually drinking. So in the heat of the moment, right, when you're in there and someone's like, hey, you want a drink? You either have the drink with you or you know what you want to go for. So you don't have to be stressed out in the moment about how you're going to handle it. You may also want to look at your habits, hobbies, and routines for the month of January. You want to go damp January. Where are the areas in there that you could reduce your drinking by putting in new hobbies or new activities or new things that you do? If you always go with one friend to the bar, like if you go and get drinks once a week with them, maybe you can go to the movies instead, or you can go to a yoga class or something else. So how can you switch it up so that you can maybe do new activities, new hobbies? I know when I first got sober, I started playing tennis once a week with one of my drinking friends. So that was something new that I was doing. So is there anything that you can pick up? Maybe you want to go on a hike once a week, like have a time in the trees or in nature or on the coast or wherever you are, that you do some sort of new hobby or routine or activity to switch it up. Something else that might be super critical if you're going to be reducing your alcohol content is looking at coping skills for stress, emotion, anxiety, any sort of inner feelings that are happening. What is it that you can do instead of drinking to take the edge off? So I'm going to pop a video I have up here that can be really helpful. I also have a roadmap over at sobrietybestie.com/roadmap that talks through basically changing your relationship with your inner world. It's a way out of stress, anxiety, and intense emotions. What I love teaching the most is how to use your consciousness to regulate your inner world. So even if you're still drinking, even if you're just reducing your drinking, that some of the time that you have those emotions that might inspire you to drink, you can use your consciousness and then have the drink, or use your consciousness and not feel the desire or the need to drink. So learning how to use our consciousness to regulate our inner world is a major game changer. Something else I want to mention here is self-compassion. And so imagine that you have a little kid, or that you're babysitting a little kid, or you're watching a little kid, or there's a little loved one around you, right, who's trying to learn how to walk. They don't just, they're not born knowing how to run, right? First, they need to flip over, and then they need to sit up, and then they need to stand up, and then they eventually can walk. And if they're trying to walk and they fall, you just help them get back up or encourage them to get back up, right? You continue to go on the path. So anytime that you fall, that maybe you drank more than you intended to, or that you're not quite in damp, you're drinking your normal weight, that's fine. Just get back on it. Just the next day, go back to your damp January or your reducing drinking plan and continue to have that goal and to move towards it. And for those of you who are worried that you're drinking too much and you want to make sure that you halt your drinking before it becomes a problem, right? If that's where you're at right now, I want to tell you about the new science on alcohol recovery that comes from the NIH. The NIH is part of the US Health Department. It is the largest biomedical research agency in the world. A subdivision of the NIH is the NIAA, the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism. So there are two components to define recovery from alcohol use disorder. Remember, there is no, alcoholism is not a medical term. Alcohol use disorder is what the diagnosis would be. Alcohol use disorder lies on a spectrum, mild, moderate to severe. The way that they determine where one lies on that spectrum is by asking 11 questions. I'll pop the video up here where if you want to ask those questions of yourself and do the Am I an Alcoholic quiz, the 11 questions for alcohol use disorder will be in the video up here. And so in order to meet the definition of being recovered from alcohol use disorder, you need to be in remission from alcohol use disorder. That means out of those 11 questions for alcohol use disorder, you don't meet any of the criteria except for you can still have a craving. So if you still have a craving to drink, that's okay. As long as the other 10 questions, you don't meet those criteria, then you are considered in remission from alcohol use disorder. And they rate this into 4 different stages. So there's 4 different stages in alcohol use disorder recovery that has to do with length of time. So 0 to 3 months is considered initial recovery. 3 months until 12 months is considered early recovery. 1 year until 5 years is considered sustained recovery, and 5 years and beyond is considered stable recovery. The other component to be considered recovered from alcohol use disorder, according to the NIH, is non-heavy drinking. Yes, you can live damp. You don't have to go abstinent. If you do non-heavy drinking and do not meet the criteria for alcohol use disorder, you are considered recovered from alcohol use disorder. So then the question becomes, well, what is considered heavy drinking? And the NIH defines heavy drinking as for men, consuming more than 4 drinks in one sitting, or more than 14 drinks in 1 week. And for women, it's consuming more than 3 drinks in one sitting, or more than 7 drinks in 1 week. So what is an alcohol standard drink? So 1 unit of alcohol is, for wine, it is 5 ounces of wine. Liquor, it is 1.5 ounces of liquor. And beer, it is 12 ounces. This is all about because, some wines or beers or liquor have a little more or less alcohol content. So it's about 5 ounces of wine, 1.5 ounces liquor, or 1 beer, 12-ounce beer. Keep in mind, because I looked because I used to be a wine drinker, well, how much wine is that? So a bottle of wine is 750 milliliters typically, which is about 25 ounces. So 1 bottle of wine is considered about 5 drinks. So if you are currently considered a heavy drinker according to these standards with the NIH, and you're looking to be a moderate drinker or a non-heavy drinker, right, and be in remission from what would be considered AUD, it is possible to do that by drinking less drinks. And so, what is your damp January strategy going to be? How are you planning on reducing your drinking? What is your strategy? Are you going to drink less in one sitting? Are you going to drink less days or with not hang out with certain people or go to certain places? Leave it in the comments. What is your strategy that you're going to take away from this? And so we can see everybody's strategies and have fun in the comments. And regardless of what it is you choose to do with January 2023 and beyond, I wish you much peace and much freedom, and I'll see you in the next video.